And we are live. Hey, everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy self-care Saturday. Of COVID-19, we are in a special place, right? Where everybody is trying to figure out their new normal. Life is happening to people in real time. People are people are dying. People are sick. People are getting laid off. People are learning how to work from home. People are trying to figure out what do they do with their business now, because they may have a business, but it's suffering. People are learning how to deal with their family. You might find out that you don't like some folks, or that you don't have coping skills. You don't really know how to get along, or learning how to homeschool, or you may be in isolation and realizing that you've invested a lot in so many parts of your life, and now here you are, and it's difficult to share it in real time. Of course, we know being isolated doesn't mean you have to, because there are creative ways. But we're talking about all that stuff because what happens when life is interrupted? And the irony is that I decided to take the Superpower podcast live to have a conversation because we're in real time. We're in the middle of COVID-19. So this is your COVID-19, what to do when your whole life is not only interrupted, but disrupted. How do you cope, right? And there are some opportunities. So it's not only what people are going through, some coping skills, but also some opportunities. What are some things that you can take advantage of? What are some building grow? And I'll start us off this way. I love to quote the Serenity Prayer, which is God grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And if ever that prayer meant anything in the middle of COVID-19, when the world is just disrupted and your normal is disrupted and you're learning to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, it's now. Help me have that conversation, to help me give you tips, to help me support you in this journey. We're all going through it in real time. Are some amazing therapists who also happen to be my girlfriends. So we're going to have a girlfriend conversation, and we're going to leverage their expertise. So I want to first introduce you to Andrea Wise-Brown, who is a therapist, and she is also an author. In her former life, she was a hairstylist and salon owner, which is why her hair is still looking fly. Okay. She has some hair therapy skills. A little jealous. I'm not going to tell you. Well, I am going to tell you. I was looking like buckwheat. I'm not going to lie. And I was trying to go back natural again, but I gave, and I had to go to Walgreens and get a box perm because, that was my version of self-care, to do something to make myself feel better. And unfortunately, I knew it was not a good look for my husband, literally and figuratively. I needed to do something. That's my truth. We're learning this conversation today. You'll learn how we all are implementing self-care in our own lives. And so our next guest that you'll get to meet and love as well is Tori Dixon, who is a therapist, but she's also a grief specialist. And I love talking to Tori. I was first introduced to her during my Super Self-Care Power Summit, and she introduced the concept to us in a way that I think you all will be able to relate to. So that was a long intro, but necessary considering. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us. I was getting ready to say, and for outing me on my my secrets to hairstyling. Okay.
Yeah, you are exposed. Look, I said the name of this podcast is Life Interrupted. So I'm going to interrupt your privacy about your skills. And if you get new clients, don't blame me.
We're
So in the
so
world
glad
of technology, we've got thank you. In the world of technology, we've got some delay. So what I'll do is I'll name you one by one so that you'll know I'm talking to you, so we can kind of just make some room for that. So let me just start with this. Tori, you know, both of you have been seeing clients virtually now. World of how to do the how to engage in general your work is, right? Everybody's having to do things virtually now. What are some of the are there any big new issues or any exaggerated issues that you've been experiencing or talking to clients about in this world of major change with COVID-19? What are people dealing with? What are they talking about? What are they concerned about?
Deya, that is a great question. As I am talking to and engaging with my clients, the thing that I am seeing the most is that there is this air of, I would say, anxiety, great concern. People are not familiar with the uncertainty of our times. One of the things that I'm realizing is that as Americans, for the most part, we have never been in a position where we are being required to do something to stop the spread of an illness and for other people getting sick. So we've been able to kind of watch the rest of the world from our couches and seeing how they've, over the decades, been handling natural disasters on a large scale. So we have smaller pockets of disasters. So we'll have like Katrina, and then we'll have a hurricane here. But this is now a nationwide requirement and a responsibility for us to do something. And people are nervous about whether or not what they're doing is enough. They are concerned about themselves and their loved ones getting ill. They are concerned about the future of their jobs, particularly those individuals who do not have, who are considered essential in terms of not being able to work from home. They are concerned about the global economy, what this is going to look like for them and their families after this is over. So there is a real concern during this time about the uncertainty of what's going on, and people are rightly afraid. They are rightly nervous. They are rightly uneasy. They are having difficulty sleeping. Um, so these are some of the basic concerns that I'm starting to see now over the course of this last, say, 30 days.
Andrea?
Yes. Well, did you want me to answer the same, or did you want to ask me something different?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what you're seeing. What are people talking about? What are they concerned about? What are they having anxiety about?
Yeah. And I think the same thing, right? But more about, when is this going to be over? Because usually what happens, right, when people are ill, or we get an illness or a sickness, when we go to the professionals, right, to the doctors, you go to the hospital, there usually is some science to predict for you when this is going to be over, or that you'll be okay, or there's a prescription that you can take and it will make everything back to normal again, right, to your normal. And so the fear that I'm seeing and the anxiety is tied to, we don't know when it's going to be over, what to do about it, so it just feels like doom and gloom. It feels hopeless. And this is the difference. Usually when people come to me and they're faced with anxiety or depression, and we talk about hopelessness and helplessness, right? We talk about the difference between rational fears and irrational fears. What makes this different right now is their fears are rational, right? So there is nothing that I can give them to say, well, listen, nope. In 6 weeks, if you drink orange juice, if you take your antibiotic, this thing will be over. No, because what's rational is that people are dying and doing things. So the fear is rational, right? And so that's what I'm seeing. I mean, I am even going to share this with you guys, which, so I have been seeing clients and, you know, from my home where I am now, and I have these windows in my home, right? And I'm talking to clients virtually over and over again. And then at the end of the day, this was in the second week of COVID. At the end of the day, I look out the window, which is right here. And when I look out the window, I'm like pulling all my stuff together. I see a bunch of cop cars. They were up on the bridge. And so I'm wondering, okay, wait, hold on, what's going on? So I used to be I'm a trained hostage negotiator. I used to work with Arlington Police. So it looked very familiar to me, right? Came up in my spirit that, okay, something's going on. And the way it was set up, it looked as if it appeared as if there was some type of trouble, like a negotiation or something going on. So I sat and I watched it. And I literally saw a person commit suicide, fall to their death. So I didn't speak to that person, right? So I don't know what their issue was. I literally, this is the first time that I've actually put this out here, and I'm going to talk about it on my show too. So this is the first time I'm telling you this, but I'm putting this out there. But I literally witnessed it. Okay, so I'm not only am I doing the work, talking to clients, but then I witnessed a suicide, like right here on this highway 35. Fall to their death. Now, as I was saying, it wasn't my client, right? So I don't know their story before, and I don't know why they went. But I don't think it's no coincidence, right? With what's going on now. You know, this uncertain feeling, you know, everyone feeling unsure and not knowing the answers. Not knowing the answers and not feeling safe and secure to go someplace to find the answers. So it's like right now we have to rely on what we haven't relied on in the past. And it's trust. And it's letting go of things that we can't control and giving it to a higher power, a power that's higher than us, which is difficult, but it's the truth.
So, first of all, just in full transparency, far from each other. So that same bridge you were looking at is probably one of the night, nosy and trying to figure out why all the cop cars were there, and I did not see it, and that's devastating. But that mentioned it because that's one of the reasons why I want to have this conversation. It's one of the reasons I want to have this conversation. Inwardly, and in a normal world, people are inwardly imploding. So in an abnormal world, we know people are doing that. And I don't like Black woman thing. I think it's a people thing. But yes. I know that women, we like to feel safe, even if that's us creating our own safe, how we move and groove. People are being left. People who have worked super hard for their own business, for their best. And I know what it feels like to get in day in, day out, only to find out that you too can be a casualty when life happens. I'm wondering, are you having with feeling out of control because I'm particular, or I should say professional? The one thing that we feel like we know how to control is our careers. In fact, we give so much energy to our careers that oftentimes, even in times like this, we've not invested in any other kind of relationship except our personal relationship. And so people may find themselves alone during this season. It's not a pointing the finger. It's a reality check, which I think COVID is causing a lot of us to have a lot of different reality checks around those kinds of thoughts and conversations. And you can answer any way you feel. How are women dealing with a sense of loss of security in this time? And the second part of that question, I'll start with you, Tori, is what kind of loss are they feeling? And the reason why I asked that, and I want you to kind of combine the conversation, is because, Tori, you specialize in grief.
Absolutely.
And I have a friend who was recently furloughed, and I encouraged her to take a moment before trying to get back on that horse, because you may be more exhausted than you realize. And I think even in this season of whatever loss we are experiencing, family members dying, loss of your normal life, that there's something to be said about allowing yourself to grieve. Can you speak to that?
I think that we are coming into a stage and in an age, Deya, where we are going to have to start to see grief as something bigger than what we have been experiencing it before. Most times when we hear the word grief, we only associate it with death and dying. And while that is the bigger part of the spectrum, we are in a collective state of grief and mourning for jobs. And let me just clarify this, because a lot of times what we'll do is we'll begin to, in many ways, put our grief on a scale, right? Which one is greater than the other? Which one is more significant than the other? And I say whatever you're grieving at the moment is what's significant, right? And so what we'll do is we'll have this hierarchy of things that we feel this is more important, so I should be grieving this, as opposed to this lesser important thing that I should just sweep under the rug. It's not that big of a deal. It's not as big as this thing. It's not as big as a loss that someone else may have experienced. But what we are experiencing now in our country is a collective grief period for all of us. And we're not just grieving the loss of loved ones, but those are very, very hard losses. We are grieving the loss of jobs. We are grieving the loss of security. We are grieving a sense of knowing, the sense of having some sort of certainty. Like Dr. Wise said, you go to the doctor and they give you information and you know what's going on. You know when this thing is going to end. We are grieving having the knowledge of when this thing is going to end. We are grieving the loss of jobs. We are grieving finances. We are grieving the loss of homes. People who had to postpone weddings, graduation, baby showers, and all of these significant events. We are grieving these events. And again, I specialize in grief and loss, and I know that if I can get you to the place where we are able to acknowledge that a loss occurred, and for many of us, we've never had anyone say, I'm acknowledging that you lost that thing. I'm acknowledging that you lost your safety, acknowledging that you lost your security. When we can get to the point of acknowledging where the loss has occurred, and then we can go a step further and now begin a healthy grieving process as to how do we grieve this loss, and going through those stages of grief, this is where people get stuck, and this is where they have those issues with the anxiety, the depression, and all the other things that come along with it, because we've never been given that really good, healthy space to actually acknowledge and grieve our losses. And collectively, that is what we are doing. I'm seeing, clients come in and they're like, oh, I'm feeling so tired all the time, but I can't sleep. I'm not hungry. I'm losing my appetite. These are things that people go through when they are in a grieving process. And we have to be able to clear the table and acknowledge that grief is what we're going to go through. And even on the other side of this, because right now, many of us are in a state of denial. We are in that denial phase, which is actually a good phase because it's healthy, so that our emotions are not bombarded with what's actually going on with us. And so we need that denial to kind of act as a buffer for our emotions to catch up with the reality of what we're going through. So as we're going through that process, People are going to come on the other side of this and they're going to look back and they're going to say, I didn't realize I lost as much as I did during this process. Now what and what do I do? And I said, we have to all collectively give each other that space to grieve.
So just go through the stages of grief for us really quickly.
There are 5 stages of grief. The first stage is the denial phase, like I said, and we are not talking about denial and saying, "Oh, I don't. This didn't happen." Not that sort of denial. It's a denial again that allows our emotional selves to catch up with the reality of what's happened to us, so that our emotions aren't bombarded with this tragic, traumatic loss. Right. So we have that denial, and then there is that space where we have anger. And people don't realize that there's this collective space where we feel so touchy and we're irritable. It's that anger, that deep-seated anger. And I'd like to say that what happens when we grieve is the first thing that we do is we want to separate our emotion from the actual situation so that we don't have to experience the emotions that's associated with it. But that anger, in many ways, is the bridge between what happened, the trauma that occurred, the thing that we lost, and our actual emotion. So we don't have to deny the anger. The anger is there to connect us again and to bring us back to a space where we can fully understand what's going on. And then we have that bargaining stage. Well, if I would have done this, then this wouldn't have happened. If this would have, I never got an opportunity to say goodbye to my loved one who now passed away by themselves. We could not give them a complete and proper funeral. Am I the one responsible for having given my loved one COVID? Could I have done something different? Maybe if I would have done this and then that. We bargain with ourselves. We bargain with God. We are looking for answers. That's the place where we're searching for those answers. And so we go through that bargaining. And then there's the depression that sets in. And so many of us are experiencing depressed mood. And this depression is going to be a little bit different from people who have been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, because with major depressive disorder, there is a pervasive depression over everything. But with the depression associated with grief, the depression is specifically associated to what has been lost. And so that's the way that we kind of scale it to know what's actually going on. And then finally, there's that stage of acceptance. And people say, well, Tori, are you asking me to accept that I'm okay with what happened? And I said, no. And what we're going to have to do is accept the fact that this loss now has created a new and a different normal for us. And we're having to integrate this loss now into a new life without the person or without the things that we've lost and what we previously had. Right? So that's what the acceptance is. The acceptance is saying, listen, things are not going to be the same. And because they're not going to be the same, I'm going to have to find a new way, to find new managing coping skills to be able to handle this trauma and to be able to handle this loss in a new life.
I think that's powerful. I want to invite the audience. If you have questions, comments, please go ahead and post them. I'm on a new platform today, so I can't see everything as I normally do. So I'm trying to test to see if these comments actually will come up on this platform. So if you have a question or comment, please go ahead and post it. I want to just see if it works, but also I want to use this as an opportunity for you to be able to connect and get your question answered today. With that in mind, Andrea, I want to ask, what is it about us that when we're grieving, when we experience loss or loss of control, why is that attached to shame? In other words, for people who see themselves as accomplished, smart, boss women, we have, we don't know how to deal with not being okay. What is that about?
Okay, your voice is going in and out because of the platform, but I'm assuming that you're saying, when women who are successful, when they feel like they have lost control, they I don't know if you're saying they kind of blame themselves, and why is that, or why is it difficult to move forward? And so in me answering that, I always say, wait a minute,
What I'm saying is often there's shame involved, and we're not comfortable with not being okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. So any times that we are feeling shame, it doesn't just start as we are at the point where we are these boss women, right? It doesn't start at the point when we are uber successful. Shame comes from childhood. So anytime that we are in a situation currently at whatever age that we are as adults, as powerful ones, as successful ones, and we are triggered to feeling shame, it is usually triggered or triggering some childhood emotions that are unresolved. So there's a reason why we were shamed in the first place some years ago. And a lot of times we not really overcome shame, but we mask shame with our success. So with our going to school or choosing to create these businesses or choosing to get in these relationships, right? And overdo it, over control it, do it really well, put all our efforts there so that we can control our efforts, right? So that we become successful, but it's to mask the shame that has been there the entire time. And so when those things are unmasked, when you're thrown out of that position where you have masked your shame, right, through being successful, earning a certain amount of money, having these relationships, then what pops up? Well, what's there and what was unresolved from the beginning. So that shame is there. So it comes from unresolved issues from childhood when you shame. It doesn't go anywhere until you address it and work through it, which is why psychotherapy is amazing for everyone.
And to pick
I agree.
I think that I like to say that childhood trauma is like chameleons that live in the background of our lives. They blend in to our lives in such a way that we can't see them, we don't know them, we don't recognize them. They found a very safe space, and they found these very safe spaces within the crevices of our lives. And it's not until somebody throws some paint into the room that the chameleons begin to jump out, and now we can address what the issues are. So trauma is like little chameleons that hide themselves in the crevices of our success. They hide themselves within the crevices of our relationships. They hide themselves within the crevices of our need to have a religion. They hide themselves within the crevices of how successful we are. They are little chameleons that blend into our lives in such a way that we do not see them. And it's not until something like this happens, right? Something that shakes up the room, something that throws paint into our situation, into our lives, that the chameleons jump out. And now we have to deal with these things that we haven't dealt with before.
And let me just add to this. I'm sorry, Deya, but not only do they, I love that, hide themselves, in life because they don't go anywhere, right? But guess where else they hide themselves? In your body. Trauma becomes trapped in your body, which is why, which is why therapy and meditation, deep breathing is very helpful. Trauma will trap itself. It gets trapped in your body, and it exacerbates itself when you are triggered in certain situations that you do feel out of control.
So I know you all are not medical doctors, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do subscribe to functional medicine. I do functional medical doctors, and they talk about how there's a connection between emotional trauma and physical ailments.
That's right.
And how women carry their pain in their stomachs.
Absolutely.
Do you see a connection between certain physical ailments that there's a pattern between the trauma that people have.
Yes.
Absolutely. Irritable bowel syndrome.
Yes.
People who oftentimes deal with acne, autoimmune issues are very closely related to stress and mental health concerns. Again, digestive concerns are very closely related. A lot of heart palpitations are closely related. Sleep disorders, if you're having issues with sleeping, you can't sleep. You wake up, there's no REM sleep. You wake up, you're sleeping for an hour, hour and a half, and you're jumping up every hour, hour and a half. Those are concerns oftentimes that are mentally related. Now, we are not doctors. I'm not saying that they aren't physical ailments that you may have, but I have had several clients come in. They'll come to me and they say, I've gone to the doctor. They cannot find anything. And they told me that I need to go to therapy. And once we, again, because that trauma is trapped in those spaces, and once we identify the trauma, because a lot of people have normalized trauma, this is just what happens. And so once we unmask the normality of the trauma, we can oftentimes get to the physical ailments that are associated with them.
And let me just add on to that, right? So yes, true. I agree totally. But that's why you have to also watch what you are feeding your body, because you are feeding your brain. And so that's why it's great to, make sure that you drink probiotics for your stomach. I mean, there's tons of research, and this is clinical research that shows that there is a connection between the gut and the brain. It actually throws off the neurotransmitters in your brain. That's why I always tell people also about including things like herbs like turmeric into your diet. So those things, I mean, a lot of clients have told me after taking turmeric, like adding turmeric to their diets, it helped with insomnia and mood. So there's a lot of research that actually proves that there is a direct connection between the gut and the brain. In addition to that, I know anxiety. So, the diagnosis for anxiety and depression is up like 66, 70% before corona. Okay. So now, it's up even higher. And I really want to talk about, because I want to give people things to walk away with that they can do on their own. You want to assert your power. You want to feel powerful in this place or space where we feel like we are powerless, which actually increases anxiety. That's why I want to hear something. I want to talk about meditation. I want to talk about deep breathing and meditation. And this is nothing that's woo-woo. Some people think, oh, no, that's for those people over there. No, it's for you. When you were created in this world, you came through breath. And when you leave out, you will leave with your last breath. So in order to keep living, you have to learn how to sit quietly, which is what Corona is doing. It is sitting us still, and to imagine breath. And I'm talking about mindfulness meditation, accepting where you are here and now, closing your eyes and accepting now and using breath. Because what it does physically is it actually turns on the parasympathetic nervous system and turns off the sympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that has you in that state of fight and flight, anxiety. There's danger. I have to move. I have to react. I have to do. So could you imagine always be, and right now, a lot of us, this is where people are in a state of fight or flight, because they don't understand the end. They don't see the end, and there's no one to help them and tell them. So we have to be mindful every day with mindfulness meditation, just breath. Just sit down, ground yourself in breath so you can ignite the parasympathetic nervous system, calm you down. Here, we're going to be all right, and we will get through this. Work from home. Right now, a lot of us, this is where people are in a state of fight or flight, because they don't understand the end, they don't see the end, and there's no one to help them and tell them.
I'm sorry, the people are commenting, and I'm trying to connect with their comments.
And I just want to add with that meditation, breathing, and to be mindful of what not only we're feeding our bodies, but what are we feeding our minds. We are in a time where we are in the 24-hour news cycle and we are ingesting all of the garbage. We are
Don't do
eating
it.
everything. We're eating things from national news, we're eating things from local news. We have not created a filter and set an informational boundary. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, anything that's media related, and we are ingesting everything. We are looking at how other people are dealing with the crisis, whether you're single, you're looking at the married folks and you're like, my gosh, they have somebody. If you're married, you're looking at the single folks and you're saying, my God, I don't want nobody. If you have children, you're saying somebody come and get them, which your feelings are valid. Any feeling that you are experiencing right now, we're going to go ahead and validate them for you. You have a right to feel the way that you feel. But the moment you begin to take your feelings and measure them against the life of someone else whose life is filtered, you only are seeing very portions of it. It's very filtered. Then what happens is it too throws you into anxiety and depression because it then has you worried as to whether or not you're doing what you're doing the correct way. Is your way the right way? Is this how I'm supposed to do that? So you have to be mindful of not only what we're putting in our bodies, but be mindful of what you're putting in your mind. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. So if you are thinking and looking at everything, if there's never a shut off, if you are not reading things that are good, if your thoughts are not good, and if it's not pure, and if it's not lovely, if it's not of a good report, if there's not any virtue, if there's not any truth, those are the things that you need to think on. And so what I like to tell my clients, particularly those who are dealing with anxiety and depression, you have to begin to separate the laundry. I'm a laundry girl. I love to do laundry. That's probably one of my favorite household chores. And the problem with laundry is that when we pile it in the basket, we really can't have a great assessment of what needs to be done with those clothes. It's not until we sit down and separate the whites into the colors, and then we can go further into separating the delicates from our jeans, from our towels. Then it gives us a better picture. I like to call it the Eiffel Tower view. It gives us a better view of how we need to handle all of the things that's happening to us. We don't handle our white clothes the same way that we handle our color clothes, and neither should we handle the issues and the concerns in our lives the same way with every situation. You have to separate the laundry. First, separate it into two piles. What can I control and what I cannot control? Because what ends up happening is that when we do not separate the laundry, we end up giving all of our energy and our intention onto things that we cannot control, and they end up diverting all of our positive energy and everything that we can do from the things that we can. So we really can't control how many testing is available to us in our area. We can't control people from staying in or going out. We can't control what our government is doing to supplement the loss of income. We can't do anything about that. But here's what we can do. We can meditate, right? We can make sure that we are keeping a monitored, gateful watch over our thoughts and over our minds, that we do not let everything into our minds and into our heart space. We can control that. We can make sure that we do our part. If I go out, I need to make sure it's essential. I need to make sure I'm wearing my mask. We can make sure that we are looking into and looking on the people that are in our sphere of influence. Now, once I've taken that laundry list and divided it into the things that I can control and the that I cannot control, now I have a better view of what I can control and I know what to do as a result of it.
No, I totally agree. And I say, turn the news off, because all of the negative messages over and over again will spoil your brain and spoil your spirit. It will trigger anxiety and trigger depression. It will bring it up for you, even when you're not walking there. You know, some of my clients will tell me, well, I just want to know. And they just have it playing in the background. Well, you don't even understand what you're doing to your brain. Because even when you walk out of that room and walk back in, it is still playing in the background. And it is triggering that sympathetic nervous system that says fight or flight, fight or flight. It is a subconscious thing. It is subconsciously spoiling your mind. You have to make mental health a lifestyle. I love it. By choosing to do what's right for your mind. So when I say, when you take anything in, let it be positive, because this is the difference. questions. Hey, if you know the news cycle, the news picks a topic, right? Stuff that is salacious, stuff that is engaging, and that's what everybody wants to hear. And then from that first news story to the next, it's everybody's saying the same thing. So just imagine your mind. Love your mind. Make mental health a lifestyle. Think about it. Why are you pressuring your mind and your body like that? So cut it off. Play things, look for things that are fun, things that make you laugh, things that make you happy. And if you need to check in on the news, you can do it one time by looking at maybe a headline, or you can ask. That's what I do. I ask, okay, is it over? Will it be over? Did we find the vaccination? Other than that, I'm done. I don't have time for it, right? Because I'm on to some other things. I'm waiting for this miracle to come to fruition. So I'm setting up shop right here. But y'all let me know when it's over. Don't you put your energy in those negative spaces, because where you put your energy is what grows. You got me? And if your mind is on fear, whatever you think, you create. So you have to create that shift. You set yourself up for success. Turn it off. I totally agree.
So powerful. It really puts it's sort of a double question that I have, but I want to make a statement, and I want you to speak to it first, which is the power of mind. And a lot of people really put a lot of thought into is how the mind is spiritual and how the mind feeds your brain, and really understanding how all that is connected. And so that's why things like positive psychology and visualism and being grateful and finding something to be grateful for can literally shift your energy, and it can shift the whole trajectory of everything. And so I think this is a good place, Tori, to talk about, from a spiritual perspective, the connection between our spiritual and our scientific, and that both can be true, and how they actually work together for our good if we allow it to.
I think that is so important. One of the things that I have been encouraging my clients is to lean into your faith. I am not ignorant to believe that everyone who's watching this podcast, or even every client that walks in my door, that we believe the same thing. But here's what I know is that those of us who have a faith base, whatever your faith base may be, those of us who have a faith base, we will be able to manage what's going on outside of us, because we have already been practicing and creating a space within us that will give us enough strength to understand what's going on outside of us. And here's what I mean. As a Christian, I know that the when we war against enemies that we cannot see, right? Our battle is spiritual. So as Christians, we have been doing spiritual battling against the enemy that we cannot see. That's our faith, right? This COVID is no different. Now we need you to enact what you already know, which means stay grounded in your word. There is a space where both your mind and your spirit can do the same thing, and you can heal via therapy and your spiritual beliefs at the same time. You can welcome them into the same environment and be able to handle mental health concerns as well as your spiritual concerns. Our number one example is that of Jesus, right? We are celebrating the Easter, and he went into the Garden of Gethsemane, and he was vexed in his mind. He wanted to quit. He wanted to stop. He wanted to all the things. He was depressed. He was anxious. He was even in many terms experiencing a level of psychosis. All of that happened right in the garden. And still yet he was able to also pray at the same time, right? So we can do them both. Don't think that if you are dealing with if you are dealing with anxiety and depression, and you are a Christian, or if you're a Muslim, or whatever your faith, your belief is, I want you to look real good in the camera, look me in the eye. Your faith is not any less strong because you're dealing with something mentally. Your faith is not on trial here, brother, sister. You are not any less faithful or any less believing because there is anxiety and because there is fear and because your feelings are valid. I'm going to validate them. I'm going to tell you that it's okay to feel how you feel. I'm going to then ask you to feel it, and your feelings can come along with you on this journey. We're just asking that you set your feelings on the passenger seat of the car and don't let them drive. Because at some point your feelings are going to change. And what we don't want you on a trajectory that keeps changing every time your feelings change. We want you to be able to acknowledge your feelings. We want you to be able to bring them along with you, but then we need you to set your faith behind the wheel because your faith is going to be what's going to drive you in the right direction. It's going to keep you on the road. It's going to keep you in your lane. The one thing that keeps you in your, although everything around you may be changing, the rock does not change. It stays the same. Your faith stays the same. So bring them both together and allow them to work for your betterment.
I love it. As we close, I kind of want to close on the self-care tip. And Andrea, you spoke to it so well already. But I want to make this more personal. I want to know if there are any other key self-care tips that you want to share with the audience. And then I want to know, what are you doing at home to maintain yourself? Because, I'm a firm believer that we must always be mindful about the caregiver. And we're seeing with so many medical professionals on the front lines. And now we have new people on the front lines, by the way, which is, the bus driver and the grocery store worker. But in this spirit of serving others and helping and taking care of others, sometimes we forget that even Superwoman or Superman or the caregiver or the doctor or the therapist also needs to be cared for. What do you recommend that you haven't already shared? And then how is that working out in your own world?
Yes, so I'm so glad that you asked me that because what I do, I live what I teach. And I just also wanted to say that I do believe that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. So I believe that this thing that's going on, right? It's all about what we have created, and it's the universe, it's God. I don't believe God let it happen because we have free will. But I think that, I don't think he caused it, but I think he allowed it because we have free will. And it's for us to readjust ourselves because now people who didn't care about other people and didn't empathize with other people are forced to do it now, right? Even if it's financially. So I do believe that we can heal ourselves. I believe, this saying they say it's karma, right? But it's also physics, Newton's law. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So I always like people to know that you have the power, we all do, to create change. We together can create this change by doing the things that we have learned that we need to do. Social distancing, washing our hands, all of those things. So I do those things when I need to go out for essential services. In addition to that, I get into a routine and I've been teaching my clients to do the same. Don't you just lie around in the same pajamas that you've slept in all week. I want you to get up every day. First thing in the morning for me is I connect to a higher being because I do believe in God and I believe that he's the creator of all. And I believe that we were all created in his image. So I wake up in the morning ready to co-create my life for that day. So I get up and I give thanks. I look at things that I'm grateful for. I work out, I exercise. Raise the dopamine in your brain. You have the power to do it. You don't need to always have things from the outside. You can create change in your brain, right? So raising the dopamine, this exercise is simple. You will feel so much better. You can create a shift, trust me, when you just exercise every day. So I get up, I exercise, and then get in the shower. I get dressed. I fix myself up, get my coffee, and then I make sure that I'm ready to do the work that God gave me to do. So I'm seeing clients, I'm working, I'm finding a purpose. I'm finding some place to assert my power. Got me? So that I can feel some type of grounding and that I haven't lost all of my power. So we have power in these situations. I'm mindful of what I'm eating, and I'm actually cooking a lot. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth, because I'm probably one of them chicks, I own my own business, my own clothing line, and been married for years. And so I am not a chick, okay? This is real talk, that cooks every day and do all of that. My daughter's home from college. My husband's working from home. So a sister's been very creative in the kitchen, honey, at night. So I'm cooking all kinds of stuff, right? But some good things. In addition to that, I am working my skills, my communication skills with my husband. I'm choosing my battles. I'm communicating appropriately when I'm challenged, and I am challenged more so than I was when he would go one way and I would go another, and we would meet in the evening, right? That was real easy for a few hours, but now it's all day long. So let me tell you, we're doing the work. We're doing put the work in. Challenge yourself. It ain't always about you, because you think that the clothes should be off right there at that time of this, or you think they shouldn't be going out. You're not going to open your mind, sit, quiet your mind, breathe, position yourself. Ask God to speak through you. This ain't just about you, Andrea. So I've been doing all of those practices, and I've been pretty well. I've been well. Look, see, I'm gonna be cheesy, but everything that's in my little book, 6 pillars to power up your mind. Mental health is a lifestyle. 6 pillars will keep your mind strong, even when there's not this horrific pandemic, but especially now while there's a pandemic. So make choices to take care of yourself and get in a routine. Take care of yourself. That's how you assert your power.
Yeah, and I think in this situation we've been forced into, it's really causing people to develop some new skills and to realize that they may not know the people in their lives as well as they thought they did, and really learning how to communicate. For me, I can't hold a grudge right now, because you can't go nowhere. I find a way to laugh. I find a way to laugh at myself for getting so upset about little things. You know what I mean? And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, you still mad? I'm not gonna be mad about that. Like, what are we doing? And here's the thing too. In the grand scheme of things, and all that's going on,
absolutely,
you realize the things that you're upset about, the things you might be frustrated about, it's a luxury. In this, you got somebody to be mad at. You got a home to be mad in. You got a bed to lay in. You might not like the food, but you got food to eat. It's real basic right now.
Yes.
And I feel like it's bringing us back to a place of, what are you grateful for? You could either, you could focus on all the things that you can't control. I'm going right back to the serenity prayer. But what you do have,
come on.
You have a family member that gets on your nerves, but they're here. A lot of nerves. So how you want? Because clearly, it's not promised to us. COVID is teaching us that somebody can be healthy and here today and gone tomorrow. How you want to use your energy?
How do we want to do it? Absolutely. We are being stretched. We are being stretched in our ability to be human and to connect to the humanity of those around us. And that's the one thing that our busy lives have been interjecting itself, and where it has been creating a barrier is between our ability to connect with the humanity of ourselves and that of other people. We do not know ourselves, and we do not know others as well as we think that we do. And this is making us, this is causing us, this is requiring us to stretch ourselves, to deepen our emotional intelligence, and to be able to look beyond some of these things that we thought were so important and really get to the basics of connecting with our humanity, that we all hurt, we all love, we all have need of each other, that we all are in a space where we can grow when we are together. We were never meant to be individualistic human beings. We were never meant to be able to do this alone. We
That's
were
right.
supposed to be each other's iron. We were supposed to be sharpening each other. We were supposed to be the two that's supposed to make a three-strand cord that's not so easily broken. We should be keeping each other warm. We should be our next door neighbor. We should be neighborly. We should be loving. This is the fullness of what we were created to do, and that was to connect with others and to learn with others and to grow with others. And
Yes.
COVID is going to teach us, hopefully, it will teach us that we need each other more than we need our things. We need each other more than we need our things. And I'm hoping that this is what we
Mm.
come out of this with. That I know, Dear, that I need you. I need you on this race. Andrea, I need you. I
Yes.
can't do this without you. I can't do this without my mother. I can't do this without my crazy uncles. I can't do this without my distant cousins. We need each other. And I'm hoping that this teaches us the lesson that if we don't get back to the basis of connecting with our humanity, we will all be extinct. We need each other.
Yes. I love that.
That's so
And
good.
it's real good. And a self check. We also need a self check. So take this time to check yourselves. Take
Yeah.
this time to check yourself.
Yeah. Whatever you guys are feeling out there, I just want you to know that we are not exempt from feeling what you're feeling. We are feeling it too. We may or may not have the skills to be able to implement those things, but we are feeling what you guys are feeling, and all of what you are feeling is human. Whatever it is, if you're saying, Tori, I'm so uncertain, I don't know what's going to happen. That's okay. You can feel that. Feel your
Mhm.
way through that. Acknowledge that. Acknowledge it. Feel it. Sit with it. Meditate. Ask God, what should I do? I don't have the answer, so maybe you do. I don't know. Help me. Right? Ask for help. Ask for help. He's willing. He's really willing and waiting for us to come to him. All of us who are heavy laden and burdened. And he said, I will give you rest. I'll give you rest.
Dear.
Andrea, how can people find you? How can they stay in touch, or if they want to come see you?
Oh, good. I'm glad you said that because, well, you can find me on all social media platforms. Everything is awisebrown.com. AWISEBROWN.com. So that's on all social media platforms. However, at my private practice where we see clients, it is Intrinsic Motivation Counseling Services. And I'm just going to give the number because 469-225-9551. We are fully virtual, so you can see us, you can talk to us, and me, like others, we have some discounted services, like way discounted. So you can call my office, 469-225-9551. And then I just want to give this out. Psychologytoday.com is an amazing resource because there are tons of therapists on that website, and you can look at people's bios, the therapist bios, and see if you can find the connection. So Psychology Today, but so that's me, and just to let everybody know.
How can we find you? Where can people go to connect with you?
You can find me at www.gracefuljourneycounseling.com. That's GRACEFUL journeycounseling.com. You can find me on Instagram at Tori S. Dixon LPC. You can also find me on Facebook, Graceful Journey Counseling. We are also doing all of our services virtually and online. When you go to my website, if you would just click that little orange button at the bottom of a page that says request appointment, you will be asked to fill out 4 little questions, and we will get you started on your therapy. We are excited to open our doors to you. If you need us, we are available. I've had people send me little messages on all of my social media platforms. They've DM'd me. They've sent me messages on Instagram and they're asking questions. What do I do? Who do I look for? Where do I go? If you want to have a specific therapist, you can also, again, with Psychology Today, you can also look on therapyforblackgirls.com. That's a great resource to find some therapists as well. Or you can just send me a message. Let me know where you are. I've had people contact me from Michigan to California and saying, hey, we saw you on this, that, or the third, and we want a therapist in our area. And I can link you up with one of my colleagues that will be more than happy to help you. We are here to serve.
That's so good, ladies. First of all, I want to thank you for serving today. I think with all that's going on, we also have so many opportunities. As you talked about, there's an opportunity to reconnect with yourself and to really reconnect with what matters most in yourself more than things, to reconnect vertically and also horizontally with the people in your lives. Because times like this really, it really does show us who matters most, right? Because you want to know who loves you, who's got your back, who's your real friend when you don't have on makeup, right? When your gray is showing, when you can't get, if you're permed, when you can't get get your perm and your new growth is all the way and listen, all of that. Okay, you just crusty and rusty. Or guess what? When you can't treat people out to eat, right? When you can't give them some fabulous experience, that money buys, you realize who do you want to be with just because you like them. Starting with yourself, I think it gives us an opportunity to get quiet and all those things we've been avoiding, right? All those things that we said it can wait. Now you got time.
Come on.
To be still enough to meet yourself and to meet your life and to figure out what really matters most, right? And to deal with, in fact, some of your trauma that you've been avoiding and just piling on top of. What happens when that stuff gets stripped, or your title gets stripped, or your busy work or your traveling gets stripped, and you can't just go on another cruise or another, girl getaway? What you gonna do, girl? Where you at? How you living? And so there's a great opportunity to. I think when we're in a shift, our environment literally is in a shift, and it's saying, hey, I need a break. And I think that's happening spiritually, physically, environmentally, and we're in a season of shift. And so now it's the question is, who do you want to be in this new season of your life? Because whether or not you were ready for it, it's here. It has been unceremonious. It has been with no Vaseline. It is here. And you can either make it for you or against you. That's the one thing you can control, is your mindset and what you do next. You may not be able to control what happened, but you can control what you do next. And the good news is we don't have to do it by ourselves. We have people like Andrea and Tori. And if you want a life coach, I'm here too. Or you know what? You could just listen to this podcast and many more like it at the superpower.com. Go on iTunes, by the way, and like it and talk about it and comment, because this is life-changing information. The whole point of this podcast is for women of power or women with powerful stories, and those of us where we testify and we give tools to really help you live your best. So we focus on women, but it's not just women, because we're not alone. We need our men. We can't just do it alone. And so these are real tools that people come to serve up for you to really help you in this life transition, right? If you're going through a transition, this is your opportunity to sit and listen and to get wisdom from other people's life experiences, or because they're thought leaders and they do this work every day. And let your pride go, right? Let your fear go. Let yourself go. Allow yourself to grieve your old life. Welcome yourself into your new life, right? And power up, right? And I'm here to also serve and to help you to do just that. So I want to thank you, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or just listening. We'll do more of these during this time because we need to get through this together.
Yes.
So thank you also for allowing me to serve, ladies. Thank you for showing up
Thank you.
today.
Thank you.
A live version of the Superpower Her podcast. Thank you. Oh, and I want to say namaste, because namaste means I'm honoring the divine in you. But I
That's
also
right.
want to say namaste as an introduction to a new way of hugging and shaking hands, because I have become a little bit of a germaphobe, okay? Don't
I'm
touch
with
me
you.
when it's time for this to be over. I'm going to look at you and I'm going to be like this. Namaste. Namaste. Back up. Namaste. All right.
Thank you for
I hope you guys
having
enjoyed
me.
this. We got a lot of good comments. Some of these comments, you guys will see. I will post your social information also on this. And Karen said, we appreciate you ladies for sharing transparently and openly. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank y'all. Thank you
Thank
both.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so
Powerful.
much. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.